Hi guys, it's Kayla with the Dustin Agency coming to you with this week's Hump Day Hint. Today we are closing out our segment on mind, body, and soul. We are actually meeting today with an attorney. This is Michael Canarick from Canarick and Canarick, located in Wall, New Jersey. Welcome, Michael.
Thanks, Kayla.
So Michael, please tell us a little bit about your practice and what you do here.
I'm an estate planning attorney. I've been solely in the estate planning world for my whole career, which is coming up on 20 years pretty soon.
Wow, congratulations.
Crazy. Thanks. I started off at a big law firm and opened my own practice in 2007. So I've been doing this solo for the last 12 years. And I just, again, focus strictly on estate planning, wills, trusts, powers of attorney, living wills, those kind of things.
Awesome. So it falls right in line kind of with our segment, Soul, Preparing for the Future. A lot of the times I find that people tend to forget about the intangible things of life, whether it's spiritual or physical transformations or preparing for the future with investments. And having an estate planning is investing in your future. Now, can you tell us some of the estate planning documents that are necessary when it comes to that?
Yeah, I think the big one that comes to people's mind is putting together a will. I think that's the big one. A lot of young couples that are just having kids, they want to put together a will, essentially to name a guardian for their kid, like if something happens to them, who would get their kids. That seems to be the impetus for at least younger families coming to see me. It's funny because it's such a remote event, and,
right.
and within the will, that might take up a very small part of the will, where there's a lot of other provisions in the will that are more likely to come into play.
Right.
So even though it's what might get people to the table, that's great, because then we could do all these other things within the estate plan. So,
right, and kind of talking about those other things that maybe they're not thinking of. They may have a sole purpose of just who's going to take care of the kids.
Exactly.
And you kind of pull the strings and say, okay, well, there's this, that, and this. That kind of still needs to be touched upon and negotiated.
Exactly. So, and these things obviously apply to older families as well, where the kids aren't young. So things that people aren't thinking about when they come put a will together would be things like tax saving strategy.
Okay.
Today in 2019, the estate tax law is very taxpayer friendly. There might not be a ton of people subject to estate taxes right now. New Jersey recently repealed their estate tax. That was under Governor Christie. Of course, the estate tax law is now, federal estate tax law is under President Trump. So things might not always be as taxpayer friendly, and there are things that we could do within the will to reduce or eliminate taxes for people that end up passing in a year where the laws aren't so taxpayer friendly.
Okay.
All right, so tax saving strategies is definitely something we talk about and put into a will. Other, non-tax, non-guardian related issues. Asset protection. What if I leave my assets to my kids and then my kids end up getting divorced or sued or something to that effect with their spouse or creditor end up taking a bunch of the assets I left to them. Well, there's things that we can do about that through the creation of trusts, and that kind of thing. Obviously, if you're leaving assets to younger or irresponsible individuals, trusts are good for that as well. In today's day and age, of course, there's a lot of we'll call modern family, right? There's second marriages and kids from different marriages and all those kind of things. So it's not always as cookie cutter as I leave everything to my spouse and then at the second death we leave everything to the kids.
Right.
There's some nuances there that need to be worked out.
Exactly. So we talked about the living will.
That's the will.
The will, I'm sorry. We talked about the will. And when it comes to living will, what kind of differentiates? Obviously, one is when you're alive and one is when you passed. But what's the differentiation between the two?
Yeah,
is there anything that differentiates them?
Yeah, it's funny. Because of the both use the word will, people kind of think they're semi-related to each other. I mean, they're both estate planning documents. but they have absolutely nothing to do with each other.
Oh, there you go, guys.
A will is a document that I just described. What happens to my assets when I pass? Who am I putting in charge of making sure these things happen, the setting up trusts, all those kind of things. A living will is a document where you express your desire, generally speaking, not to be kept alive in the event you're in a vegetative state. You know, and it doesn't have to just be specific to that, but you'll make medical decisions for yourself now if you're unable to make them when the time comes, so that your family knows what your wishes would have been in these situations. In addition, you can do a document called a healthcare proxy. In New Jersey, we combine the living will and the healthcare proxy into one document where you appoint somebody to make the medical decisions for you. Okay, so generally speaking, if you're married, it's going to be a spouse, but if you're not married, you know, who do you want making medical decisions for you? Or if you are married, but your spouse predeceases you, who do you want making medical decisions for you? So you're going to pick somebody to make medical decisions. Another interesting thing with living wills and healthcare proxies and making medical decisions, and this has come up a lot recently, are that once your child attains age 18, you no longer have any rights over them as far as making medical decisions or even obtaining medical information. So a very popular thing to do now is, you know, when your kids are going off to college, is you have them sign a living will and healthcare proxy, appointing the parent to be able to make medical decisions. Like if something happens to your kid while at college and they end up in the hospital, you have absolutely no legal rights to get any information from the doctor. It's all privacy law protected, and you need your child to sign this document saying you do have the rights to access your medical information. And that holds true even if they're on your medical plan. I mean, people sometimes think, well, they're on my health insurance and I pay for it, so I have the right to know anything about them. That's not true.
Yeah, I mean, guys, obviously you can see I'm totally amazed by this, because these are things that I myself have yet to touch upon. So Michael is, you know, giving me fresh news just like you guys are receiving, which is why I'm here like amazed at all this knowledge that I'm obtaining, because these are things that I don't even know. For myself and my family, having 3 kids, you really want to make sure that you're investing and preparing. And obviously in our education system, this is not something that they generally touch upon. So being able to really get this knowledge out to you guys and being able to have you share it with, you know, young adults and elder members in your family, or even knowing it for yourself, is a good kind of step in the right direction. And that's what the Dustin Agency ultimately is here to provide you with. It's more than just insurance. Now, you kind of touched upon, and correct me if I'm wrong, the power of attorney a little bit, right?
So the healthcare proxy document, sometimes people refer that to as like a medical power of attorney. Then there's also the financial power of attorney. All right, so I'll usually refer to the medical one as a healthcare proxy and the financial one as a power of attorney. But people interchange those. A financial power of attorney is a document that you sign that allows somebody to make legal and financial decisions on your behalf if you're unable to make them. So, for example, when my grandmother was alive, she had Alzheimer's, she was in a nursing home. My mother, who had power of attorney, was able to sell my grandmother's home. My mother was able to write checks on her account to make sure the bills got paid and just, you know, take over her affairs because she was unable to do that. I think a lot of younger people feel like, oh, I don't need this, but I always make people do it when they do their will and living will, because you can't wait until you need it, because at the time you need it, you have no legal authority to sign a document any longer because you're mentally incapacitated. So get it done while you're young and healthy, and then you have it there forever whenever you need it. And of course, you could update these things throughout life.
So that's my next question. Is there a target area or age that you suggest people begin this process in creating their living will, these healthcare proxies, and regular wills?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think a lot of clients sort of do it when they have young kids, again, because they're driven by this one particular thing of naming a guardian. However, as I've said, there's so many other issues in this estate planning, umbrella that have nothing to do with naming a guardian that really apply to everybody. So, you know, as I discussed before, even 18-year-olds should have this, at least a living will and power of attorney to their parents in case something happens. So no, I don't know that there's a particular age range that needs to be focusing on this. You know, you sort of tend to find that the people, both the young kids focusing on it because of the guardian thing, or the older folks focusing on it because, you know, in theory, they're nearer to the time where they would need these documents. But like I said, it's never the wrong time to do this, and you should always, no matter how old you are, no matter what your family situation is, have these documents in place.
Absolutely. It's better to prepare yourself. And like Michael said, you have the ability to make modifications to these documents.
Yeah, absolutely.
Depending on, maybe you got it when you were 18 years old. You had, you know, your parents have you sign these documents, and then you get married, or you have children, or you purchase a home. Adding more assets or valuable investments to your life, whether that's children or a home or what have it, is going to create more on your plate, which ultimately you want to protect.
Yeah.
And this is exactly what these documents do for you. They're protecting you and your family for, you know, that estate planning for the future. Michael, I really appreciate you so much taking this time to talk to me
my pleasure.
The Dustin Agency. This is great knowledge, guys, and I definitely suggest that you share it. If you happen to have any questions and would like to have those questions answered by Michael, we're going to be sharing his information at the end of this video. Michael also would like to provide anybody with a free consultation. So if you are interested, please reach out to Michael. He's very knowledgeable in this, as you know, and he'd be more than happy to help you guys. Until next time. Thank you for tuning in to the Dustin Agency in Millstone, New Jersey, where we're more than just insurance. To contact our agency, visit dustinagency.com or follow us at Dustin Agency on social media. We look forward to getting to know you.